Hello and welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. Welcome back to a very special holiday edition of Let's Talk. We're going to give you our ranking of the 10 best Christmas movie sequels of all time. Before we do that, let me know your favorite Christmas movie in the comments section below. And let me know if you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie. So with that, let's dive right in, shall we? Christmas movies are not just films, they're rituals. Most movies are watched once, maybe twice, and then filed away as something you saw. Christmas movies, by contrast, are revisited annually, often at the same time, in the same rooms, with the same people. They've become embedded in personal history. You remember watching Home Alone while wrapping gifts. You remember A Christmas Vacation playing in the background during chaotic family gatherings. You remember A Christmas Story looping endlessly on cable while everyone drifted in and out of the room. That ritualistic quality is what makes Christmas sequels uniquely difficult. A standard sequel only has to justify its narrative existence. A Christmas sequel has to justify its intrusion into tradition. It risks not just disappointing viewers, but disrupting something emotionally sacred. When a sequel fails, it doesn't just feel bad, it feels unwelcome. Most studios don't understand this. They mistake recognition for affection and assume familiar characters plus holiday aesthetics equals success. The result is an endless stream of sequels that recycle iconography without understanding meaning. They repeat jokes instead of themes. They reset characters instead of letting them grow. The Christmas sequels that work do something radically different. They accept that time has passed for the characters and the audience. They acknowledge that Christmas doesn't feel the same in every stage of life. What once felt magical can later feel stressful, lonely, or bittersweet. Rather than fighting that evolution, these sequels build their stories around it. Before we jump back in, I want to take a quick moment to ask for your support. If you enjoy Cinema Gold and everything we've built over the past few years, you can help us grow by heading over to buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Every donation, big or small, goes right back into the show. That means better equipment, deeper and more ambitious content, the ability to bring on additional hosts and actually pay them for their time, and ultimately creating a production that matches the passion we put into every episode. And here's the fun part. We want to take Cinema Gold on the road. Live episodes from Comic-Con, D23, and other major events across the country. Imagine us covering breaking announcements, interviewing guests, and giving you behind-the-scenes access from the floor, all in real time. Getting there, filming, traveling, it adds up fast, and your support genuinely helps make that possible. So if you love this show any bit, and you want to help us push it even further, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold and donate if you can. It really does make a difference. Well, let's get back into the episode. To preserve Christmas in amber, they interrogate it. That's what earns them a place back in rotation. So, in number 10, we have The Santa Claus 2. The Santa Claus 2 is often dismissed as a typical early 2000s family sequel, louder, broader, and more commercial than its predecessor. On the surface, that criticism isn't wrong. The humor skews younger, the set pieces are bigger, and the tone is more overtly movie-ish. But beneath that surface is a sequel far more interested in the emotional cost of responsibility than it's ever given credit for. By the time the film begins, Scott Calvin hasn't just accepted being Santa, he has perfected it. Christmas runs flawlessly. Children adore him. The elves idolize him. He is, by every external measure, a success. And yet, the sequel immediately establishes a quiet truth. Scott is profoundly isolated. The North Pole, once a whimsical escape from adult life, has become a workplace defined by endless obligation. Scott's days are scheduled, his identity consumed by expectation. He no longer exists as a man with relationships. He exists as a symbol that must never fail. This is where the film becomes unexpectedly adult. The Mrs. Claus rule is not a random plot device. It's a narrative intervention. The story insists that no matter how noble a role may be, it cannot replace intimacy. Christmas magic cannot survive on performance alone. It must be grounded in human connection. That idea resonates strongly with adult viewers, especially parents. Scott's struggle mirrors real-world burnout, the quiet realization that in trying to be everything to everyone else, you've become emotionally inaccessible to yourself. The toy Santa subplot, often mocked for its silliness, reinforces this theme with surprising clarity. Toy Santa isn't evil because he's malicious, he's evil because he's efficient. He is Christmas stripped of empathy, warmth, and spontaneity. He represents a version of the holiday optimized for output rather than feeling. In positioning Toy Santa as the antagonist, the film draws a clear ideological line. Christmas is not about flawless execution, it's about presence. As a sequel, The Santa Claus 2 doesn't try to recreate the wonder of discovering Santa. It explores the harder question of what happens after belief becomes duty. That thematic pivot gives the film far more emotional weight than its regulation suggests, and earns its place as a legitimate Christmas sequel. Number 9, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Home Alone 2 is one of the rare sequels that openly embraces repetition and then uses it as a storytelling tool rather than a crutch. Kevin McAllister isn't accidentally left home again. He's lost in New York, a city that amplifies everything the first film explored: freedom, danger, temptation, and loneliness. The sequel isn't asking whether Kevin can survive alone, it's asking what independence actually gives him and what it takes away. Kevin is notably different this time. He's more confident, more assertive, and more comfortable navigating adult systems. He understands money, authority, understands how to manipulate environments to his advantage in New York. Those skills are rewarded, but the film quietly reveals the emotional trade-off. The city is thrilling, but it's indifferent. Kevin can move through it unnoticed as long as he behaves like an adult. That anonymity is empowering and deeply isolating. Christmas sharpens that isolation because it's a season defined by togetherness. The more festive the city becomes, the more Kevin feels the absence of his family. The Plaza Hotel scenes are especially telling. Kevin's access is transactional. Staff respond to wealth and confidence, not care. He's welcome but not held. It's a subtle contrast to the warmth he ultimately finds in the least welcoming place imaginable, Central Park. The Pigeon Lady is the emotional heart of the sequel. She embodies what happens when rejection calcifies into withdrawal. Her story isn't just a mirror of Old Man Marley from the first film, it's a warning. Kevin's compassion towards her represents his rejection of emotional self-sufficiency as a permanent state. Even the exaggerated slapstick violence serves a purpose. By pushing danger into cartoon territory, the film keeps fear abstract, allowing its emotional themes to surface without overwhelming younger viewers. As a Christmas sequel, Home Alone 2 works because it understands that growing up isn't just about competence, it's about choosing connection, even when independence feels easier. And number 8, A Christmas Story Christmas. A Christmas Story Christmas succeeds where most legacy sequels fail because it understands that nostalgia ages. The original film is about desire, anticipation, longing, and the belief that one perfect gift will complete Christmas. The sequel shifts focus entirely. Ralphie is no longer waiting for Christmas to arrive. He's responsible for making it happen. The death of the old man hangs over the film without spectacle. There are no dramatic flashbacks or heavy-handed speeches. Instead, grief is communicated through logistics. Who fixes the furnace? Who organizes the meal? Who absorbs the stress when things go wrong? This is adulthood rendered honestly. Christmas traditions, once effortless, now require labor. The film understands that holidays don't magically assemble themselves. They are constructed, often by people who are tired, grieving, and unsure if they're doing it right. What makes the sequel remarkable is its restraint. It resists the urge to recreate iconic moments for applause. Familiar settings appear organically, serving the story rather than hijacking it. Nostalgia is present, but never weaponized. The film also refuses to idealize the past. The old man wasn't perfect. Christmas wasn't flawless. Memories softened it. By forcing Ralphie to confront the mechanics behind those memories, the sequel reframes nostalgia as something to be honored without being replicated. Ralphie's journey isn't about becoming his father, it's about accepting that he can't. He must create his own version of Christmas, one that accommodates loss rather than denying it. As a Christmas sequel, A Christmas Story Christmas works because it understands something painfully true. The holidays don't freeze time, they reveal how much it has passed. Number 7, Bad Santa 2. Most Christmas movies operate on an unspoken promise. No matter how broken a character is at the start, the holiday will soften them by the end. Redemption is treated as seasonal inevitability. Bad Santa 2 rejects that promise outright, and that refusal is precisely why it works. When the sequel opens, Willie is worse than we left him. Not stagnated, not plateaued, worse. Time hasn't healed him, it's sharpened his bitterness. This is one of the boldest creative choices a Christmas sequel can make, because it refuses the comforting fantasy that growth is automatic. Christmas doesn't redeem Willie, it exposes him. Every festive environment becomes a mirror reflecting what he lacks. The decorations, the music, the forced cheer, all amplify his emotional emptiness. In a genre where Christmas is usually a cure, here it's a diagnostic tool. The introduction of Willie's mother is crucial, not just for shock humor, but for narrative context. She isn't meant to excuse Willie's cruelty, she's meant to explain its origin. Abuse, neglect, and emotional deprivation are shown not as tragic backstory garnish, but as active forces shaping adult behavior. The film draws a straight line between received cruelty and inflicted cruelty, refusing to sanitize either. What's especially striking is how restrained the sequel is with its moments of potential redemption. When Willie connects with others, those moments are fleeting and fragile. There's no sweeping transformation, no sentimental montage signaling permanent change. Instead, the film suggests that improvement, if it happens at all, happens unevenly and without guarantees. As a Christmas sequel, Bad Santa 2 functions at a countermyth. It dismantles the idea that the holidays magically fix people. Instead, it argues that Christmas simply magnifies what's already there. Kindness or cruelty, connection or alienation. That honesty is uncomfortable, also rare. And in a genre built on comforting illusions, Bad Santa 2 earns its place by refusing to lie. Number 6, The Chronicles of Christmas, Part 2. Number 6, The Chronicles of Christmas, Part 2. The first Chronicles of Christmas film was about rediscovering belief. Part 2 is about maintaining it. That distinction matters. This sequel reframes Christmas magic not as something that simply exists, but as something fragile, something that requires care, community, and emotional labor. The shift from individual adventure to mythological responsibility deepens the story without overwhelming its younger audience. The villain's arc is especially important. His fall from grace isn't driven by greed or lust for power, but by abandonment and bitterness. He believed once, he served once, and when that belief went unsupported, it curdled into resentment. That emotional framing allows the film to explore disillusionment in a way that feels accessible rather than cynical. Goldie Hawn's Mrs. Claus becomes the film's moral anchor. While Santa embodies spectacle and wonder, Mrs. Claus represents endurance. The quiet, often invisible work that sustains joy, her presence reinforces a crucial Christmas truth. Magic doesn't maintain itself. Someone has to show up consistently, even when it's exhausting. The sequel also benefits from expanding to mythology thoughtfully. Elves aren't just quirky helpers, they're cultural participants with history and consequence. Belief isn't binary, it exists on a spectrum influenced by care, neglect, and connection. What truly elevates Part 2 is its sincerity. The film doesn't undercut emotion with irony or self-awareness, it commits fully to its message, trusting its audience to accept earnestness without embarrassment. As a Christmas sequel, it succeeds because it reframes belief as communal responsibility rather than personal nostalgia, a subtle but powerful evolution. Number 5, A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas. On the surface, it looks like an excuse to slap holiday decorations onto an already outrageous franchise. But beneath the absurdity is a sequel deeply concerned with what happens when adulthood pulls friendship out of alignment. Harold and Kumar don't drift apart because of betrayal or conflict. They drift because life advances unevenly. One settles into domestic stability, the other remains untethered. Christmas, a holiday built on shared history, forces that imbalance into sharp focus. The film understands that nostalgia can be both comforting and corrosive. Shared memories create warmth, but they also create pressure. Expectations that the relationship should still function as it once did. When it doesn't, resentment and insecurity creep in. The holiday setting intensifies this tension. Christmas compresses time emotionally, encouraging compassion between who you were and who you've become. For Harold and Kumar, that comparison is unavoidable. Every tradition becomes a reminder of divergence. What makes a sequel effective is how it uses outrageous humor as emotional insulation. The absurdity allows the film to explore anxiety about relevance, aging, and identity without becoming sentimental. Beneath the chaos is a genuine fear that the people who defined your youth might no longer fit into your future. Importantly, the film doesn't romanticize arrested development. It doesn't argue that staying the same is virtuous. Instead, it suggests that maintaining friendship requires effort, forgiveness, and adaptation, especially when growth isn't synchronized. As a Christmas sequel, A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas works because it understands that the holiday isn't just about celebration. It's about reckoning with change and deciding which connections are worth the work. Die Hard 2 is often dismissed as more of the same. But that criticism overlooks what the sequel actually understands about both its genre and its holiday setting. Where the original Die Hard trapped John McClane in a single corporate tower, the sequel expands the battlefield into something far more familiar and far more stressful, an airport during the Christmas travel rush. This choice is not incidental. Airports during the holidays are pressure cookers. Everyone is trying to get somewhere meaningful. Every delay carries emotional weight. Missed flights aren't just inconveniences. They threaten reunions, traditions, and carefully constructed plans. Die Hard 2 weaponizes that anxiety. The film's central conflict isn't just between McClane and terrorists. It's between the individual and systems that fail precisely when they're most needed. Bureaucracy collapses under pressure. Authority figures hesitate. Protocols become obstacles rather than safeguards. McClane's frustration isn't heroic bravado. It's the same helpless anger felt by anyone who has watched holiday plans unravel due to forces beyond their control. Christmas iconography plays a crucial role here. Holiday music underscoring violence isn't just ironic, it's critical. The cheerful soundtrack clashes with chaos, exposing the gulf between how Christmas is marketed and how it's often experienced. Decorations frame destruction. Festive lighting highlights danger. The holiday doesn't soften the world, it sharpens its edges. McClane himself embodies a uniquely modern Christmas paradox. Being surrounded by people while feeling utterly alone. He's in the middle of a crowded airport, yet functionally isolated, unheard, dismissed, and ignored. That alienation mirrors a very real holiday experience for many adults, especially those carrying responsibility without authority. As a sequel, Die Hard 2 succeeds because it doesn't dilute its core thesis. It recognizes that Christmas isn't inherently peaceful, it's emotionally charged. That recognition makes it one of the most honest holiday action sequels ever made. Yes, it's a holiday film. Number 3, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Gremlins 2 is a sequel that doesn't just reject expectations, it actively mocks them. When the original Gremlins balanced horror and holiday warmth, the sequel abandons subtlety entirely. It becomes anarchic, meta, and deliberately overwhelming. On the surface, this feels like a betrayal. In practice, it's a brilliant act of thematic escalation. The chaos of Gremlins 2 mirrors the chaos of unrestrained consumption, a phenomenon deeply intertwined with modern Christmas culture. Excess noise, spectacle, and indulgence collide, without consequence or reflection. The film exaggerates these traits until they become absurd, forcing the audience to confront how normalized they've become. Corporate satire replaces small-town menace. The Gremlins don't just disrupt, they multiply, mutilate, and consume. This mirrors how sequels themselves often function, expanding endlessly without purpose. Gremlins 2 is not just a sequel, it's a commentary on sequel logic. Christmas, while less overt than in the original, still lingers in spirit. The film captures the sensory overload of the holidays, flashing lights, relentless stimulation, and the erosion of boundaries. It's Christmas stripped of sentiment and pushed into excess. What makes the sequel endure is its refusal to comfort. It doesn't offer nostalgia as refuge. Instead, it interrogates it by rejecting the coziness audiences expected. The film avoids being trapped by it. As a Christmas-adjacent sequel, Gremlins 2 works because it understands that unchecked indulgence, whether cultural, commercial, or narrative, eventually becomes destructive. That insight feels increasingly relevant with time. Number 2, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Of course we had to include this on the list. What do you think we are, crazy? If there is a definitive Christmas sequel, it's Christmas Vacation. Not because it idealizes the holiday, but because it understands the psychological weight better than almost any other film. Clark Griswold's obsession with creating the perfect Christmas isn't rooted in joy, it's rooted in fear. Fear of inadequacy, fear of failure, fear that if this one day collapses, everything else might too. Christmas becomes a referendum on his worth as a provider, husband, and father. The sequel format allows this anxiety to metastasize. Clark isn't embarking on a vacation adventure. He's trapped at home, surrounded by relatives, expectations, and traditions that refuse to cooperate. Every disaster compounds pressure, turning slapstick into emotional release. What makes the film resonate is how deeply recognizable its dysfunction is. Family members are intrusive, exhausting, and frustrating, yet inseparable from the holiday itself. The film doesn't mock family chaos, it normalizes it. Christmas in this film is not magical. It's labor-intrusive, emotionally volatile, and occasionally miserable. And that's exactly why audiences return to it every year. It doesn't promise perfection, it promises survival. As a sequel, Christmas Vacation surpasses its predecessors by narrowing its focus. Instead of road trip antics, it explores domestic pressure. Instead of novelty, it delivers recognition. It became the defining installment of its franchise because it articulated something audiences rarely admit. Christmas is exhausting, precisely because it matters so much. And number 1, Paddington 2. Calling Paddington 2 a Christmas sequel almost undersells what it accomplishes. Yet the holiday framework is essential to why the film works as profoundly as it does. Christmas is not merely present in the story, it is the moral atmosphere the film breathes. Unlike most sequels, Paddington 2 does not escalate conflict by increasing danger or spectacle. Instead, it deepens its emotional thesis. The film is concerned with one question above all. What does kindness do when it is practiced consistently, without expectation or reward? Paddington himself is often misread as naive, but the sequel makes clear that his optimism is intentional. It is not ignorance of cruelty, but refusal to replicate it. In a world that frequently rewards suspicion and cynicism, Paddington chooses openness again and again, even when it costs them. That choice becomes the film's narrative. Or narrative engine, I should say. The central injustice Paddington faces is not framed as tragic fate or villainous genius, but as indifference. Systems fail him. Assumptions replace empathy. People stop listening. This is a deeply modern anxiety. And the film addresses it not with outrage, but with persistence. The prison sequence is the clearest expression of the film's philosophy. Paddington doesn't dominate his environment or outsmart it. He transforms it through patience, routine, and care. He learns names. He listens. He cooks. Small acts accumulate until hostility dissolves in community. Christmas here is not a deadline or an event. It is a way of being. The holiday represents generosity without transaction, warmth without performance, and belief without proof. Paddington embodies those ideals not once, but consistently, even when they seem impractical. The sequel format is crucial to this impact. The first film introduced Paddington's worldview. The second tests it. It asks whether kindness can survive bureaucracy, injustice, and confinement. The answer is not delivered through sentimentality, but through process. Kindness works, slowly, imperfectly, and only when practiced deliberately. What makes Paddington 2 extraordinary as a Christmas sequel is its refusal to rely on nostalgia. It doesn't trade on familiarity, it earns affection through moral clarity. The film argues that Christmas isn't about preserving innocence, it's about choosing decency, in a world that often discourages it. Few sequels deepen their theme rather than dilute them. Fewer still do so with this level of confidence and emotional intelligence. That is why Paddington 2 doesn't just top this list, it transcends it. What unites these films is not tone, genre, or audience. Some are family-friendly, some are aggressively adult, some are chaotic, others are gentle. What they share is understanding. They understand that Christmas is not static. For children, Christmas is anticipation and wonder. For adults, it is responsibility, memory, and pressure. For many, it is grief, distance, or reconciliation. The sequels that endure do not deny those shifts. They incorporate them. They allow characters to grow older, lonelier, more complicated. They recognize that belief must be maintained, not rediscovered. That tradition requires labor. That joy often coexists with exhaustion. That kindness, when practiced consistently, can reshape environments. Most importantly, they refuse to freeze Christmas in childhood. A bad Christmas sequel tries to recreate a feeling exactly as it was. A great one asks why that feeling mattered and how it might evolve. That's why these films return to the rotation year after year. Not because they repeat what we loved, but because they help us understand it from where we are now. And in a season defined by memory, that may be the greatest gift a sequel can give. Now let me know your 5 favorite Christmas movies in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you like our video. And if there's any films in this list you disagree with, let me know. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2026.